Hey pros, welcome to another edition of Pro Talks. We are super honored here to have an amazing guest, Sam Richter. So Sam is considered one of the world's most foremost sales intelligence and digital reputation experts. He's an award-winning speaker. He's been recognized in the National Speaker Hall of Fame. He's given keynotes all across the world. His best-selling book. He's been an Inc. Magazine Entrepreneur of the Year finalist. He's done so many things. He's going to be talking to us today a lot about sales intelligence, a little bit about reputation. He's got a really cool tool for us to use. We're going to dive into that later. And we are going to spend some time to kind of pick his brain, ask him some questions, and see if there's something that resonates with you guys. We originally thought we would title this podcast, How to Ethically Spy on People. So if that excites you, if you're curious about what that even means, we're going to dive into that a little bit today here. But before we do, we are going to do the Lightning Greenberg round. Normally my co-host Alexa is here, but she's out today and not able to make this. So I'm going to just call it the lightning round. And I'm going to ask all the questions together here. And we're going to get to know Sam a little bit better before we dive into the nitty-gritty questions. All right, Sam, you ready? These are going to be like 1 minute, quick little answers here. So
okay.
Where did you grow up?
St. Louis Park, Minnesota.
Minnesota. What's your proudest accomplishment?
Oh, probably my children, that they're normal and great kids and have good values.
That's a great answer. Dogs or cats?
Absolutely dogs. I mean, I love cats too, but pugs for sure.
Pugs for life. All right.
You can see the picture of my pug behind my whatever shoulder is back there.
Yeah, right there on the screen. If you could do one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
NFL quarterback.
Nice. All right. Did you play any sports in high school?
Yeah, I played football and ran track and a little bit of basketball, but mainly football.
Nice. All right. What's one outdoor activity you would never do?
Ooh, that's a great one. Outdoor activity I would never do. Never. Probably skiing. And that it sounds like it looks great. It sounds fun. But I know I would tear my knee apart. I would break a leg with certainty. It would just be a matter of time. So I would love to go skiing and watch other people ski, and I'll sit in the chalet and sit by the fire and have a coffee.
Yeah, that's a good place to sit. All right. What's something a lot of people don't know about you?
Ooh, that's a good one. Something a lot of people don't know about me. Let's see. As a youngster, as a kid, I used to collect frogs. And to this day, when I'm mowing the lawn or even when I'm driving, it drives my wife crazy. We'll be in a big, busy street and I'll see a frog crossing the street. I will stop my car, I will stop traffic, and I will go pick up the frog. Now, I do that with turtles and other injured animals too, which makes sense. But a lot of people don't think that way about frogs, but I'll even do it for a frog.
That's great. We got to keep those reptiles alive.
Absolutely.
All righty.
When mosquitoes are bad in Minnesota, we like the frogs that eat the mosquitoes.
Oh yeah, and the mosquito hawks and all and the bats and all kinds of other good helpful critters. All right, what skill or talent do you wish you had?
I love music and I can play the guitar okay, but I wish I was just brilliant at playing guitar because I love going to what are those called? Words missing my mind. I like to go to local concerts, but not when I'd rather see the cover band. I'd rather see the cover band than the real band because I can sit up front for a lot less money and they're like 90% as good. And I just wish I could play that well. Minneapolis is a huge music scene, some brilliant musicians here. And I just wish I could be 80% as good as some of those folks.
80% as good as the real deal. I like it.
I'll never be as good, but I wish I could be 80%. Jam with them, just get up on stage and jam would be fun.
That would be cool. All right, last question. What did you want to be when you grew up, when you were a kid?
Oh, same thing I'd still like to be today, an NFL quarterback.
NFL quarterback it is. All right. So now that we got to learn a little bit about Sam here, super cool answers to the questions, we're just kind of dive into it. So when I say the word sales intelligence, what does it mean to you, Sam? What are our pros? How would you define it? And then what benefits does it have?
Yeah, to me, sales intelligence is really defined as in three areas. It's really finding the right people, so the right prospects, at the right time, what's going on in their world where they might actually be interested in getting a sales call from you, with the right message. How do you make sure you're relevant to what they care about?
And I feel like for our pros in the home services space, what types of like tactical tips? So when you say like, okay, we got to go find these people. What are things that they should consider as maybe parts of the persona or the characteristics or some of the traits that they exhibit? Like, how do they go about defining that first off, and then two, finding them once they've defined that?
Sure. So I think the first part is best customer profiling, which has nothing to do with sales intelligence. It's really looking at who are your best customers? Who do you enjoy working with? And that could be as simple as taking out a spreadsheet and thinking about, okay, listing all of your customers from the past year. And what are some demographic characteristics that they all have in common? Maybe put those across the top. So the list of the customers down the left side, customer characteristics across the top, and those characteristics could be size of home, geographic region, value of home, and it could even be things, hey, I really like working with CEOs of companies because they don't argue with me about price. I'm just making things up. But putting some of those characteristics across the top and trying to see if there's a pattern. And oftentimes there is, hey, and what you do, let me back up. You rate those on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, whatever's a good number for you, or 1 to 3, 3 being, or the higher number being, I really love working with this customer. This customer orders a lot from us, whatever it might be. And try to see if there's a pattern. And like I said, usually you'll find the pattern. Geez, I really enjoy working with people whose homes are at least worth $500,000. But if they get to be worth more than $2 million, they're too picky. I'm just making that up, but try to figure out what that pattern might be. Once you identify the pattern, then we can use sales intelligence. And sales intelligence is, again, trying to find the right leads at the right time with the right message, using the tools you use every day, like Google and potentially social media and other tools. How do we use those tools to then find customers that meet that best customer profile? Sometimes it can be done, sometimes it can't be done, but that is the goal of sales intelligence.
So do you think maybe a tactical tip here for the pros is, hey, get your customer list, go find some of the best customers that you have in your list, or maybe ones, maybe sort them by total dollar value or average dollar value or last time visit or things like that. And then maybe rate them, use your scale like you mentioned, maybe that 1, 2, 3. And then once you have the ones that are the highest rate is, go through and figure out, okay, what are the commonalities between them? Maybe start with geo, zip, value of home, maybe AGI, adjusted gross income, maybe of the couple. There's, start to make some guesses there. So use that as a framework to start to develop this persona. So then we can go hunt for them. Because
that's right.
I think, so you wrote the book, Take the Cold Out of Cold Calling. Mm-hmm. So now, how do you take the cold out of it? What types of extra things are you trying to find out about these potential prospects that helps you take the cold out of cold calling?
Yeah, taking the cold out of cold calling is really turning that cold call into a warm call. So what's a cold call? Hi, Roland, my name is Sam. I know nothing about you, but would you like to spend some money with me? Now, and that's how sales has been done really forever. I mean, it's basically, for those of you who remember what a phone book is, and for those of you under 30, a phone book is like this big thick book, and they put people's names and addresses and phone numbers in there. Well, what did a lot of home pros used to do, right? They start calling, smiling and dialing, spending a lot of money on direct mail. Today, maybe they're buying an email list, but they're basically, quote unquote, cold calling. Let's just dial enough of these people, send enough of these emails, send enough direct mail pieces, and maybe we get lucky. And mathematically, you will. I mean, you will. You send out enough information, you send out enough contacts to enough people, and you might get somebody that's interested in, new tree climbing or tree trimming services or plumbing services or HVAC services. You might get lucky, new windows, whatever it might be. But I think that's inefficient and potentially ineffective. And really, it really can be expensive. And so the key with warm calling is, how do we find those best customer profiles at the right time? What's going on in their world where they might actually be interested in taking your call, and then being relevant. So the real key to taking the call out of cold calling, or turning that cold call into a warm call, is, I like to say, being real-time relevant, which is a little bit redundant. Hyper-relevant might be a better way to say it. How are we hyper-relevant to what the other person cares about?
So let's talk about that. And so in order to find these prospects, you mentioned a little bit going out on the web. Gonna go find them. So let's say I'm a window cleaner,
Okay.
and I do residential window cleaning. So
Sure.
walk me through like the tactical steps so I can start building my list, right? My list is going to be these prospects I'm going to reach out, and I want to be hyper relevant to them. So walk me through what are the steps you would take as a window cleaner, maybe in the residential space, to go find these customers and get that data to enrich it, really to start using some sales intelligence. What would you do?
Sure. Well, there's a couple ways. First off, I might look at my existing customer list. So find that best customer and then go in and do a search, a reverse address search. And there's a number of different tools that you can do that. TruePeopleSearch.com would be one. But you can go in and do a reverse address search and then see if you can find that individual's neighbors. And you can do that with like a Google Map search. So even go into Google Map, get the addresses of the neighbors, and then go in and find out, then go back and do a True People search based on those addresses, get the name and phone numbers. You can also, many of the people watching today probably have grown their business through getting referrals. What's getting a referral? Hi, you really liked my window cleaning service, right? Do you know anybody else who might enjoy my window cleaning service? And it's so annoying. You don't like doing it as a salesperson, and it's really annoying to the customer. The customers, because you have a good relationship, you've done a good job there, they're going to give you a name, but what's going through their mind, their small talk is, my wife's cousin, I don't like that guy anyhow. I'll give you his name, right? Versus if you can find out who the neighbors is. And here's the key. You got to ask for it by name. So instead of saying, do you know somebody who could possibly use my window cleaning services? You'd say, hey, I know your neighbors with Julie and Phil Johnson. Do you think they would appreciate my window cleaning services? Do you think you might be open to making an introduction? So that might be one way to do it. Or the other way to do it is, again, you get that best customer profile, and let's say you say, hey, I really like working with on homes that are between 500,000 and $1 million. If they get over $1 million, too many stories, the homeowners are too picky. I don't like working with those people. 500,000 to $1 million. So then you can go into, say, something like Zillow and do a search in a community for homes in that range, in that dollar value range. And then maybe what I would do if I was a window cleaner, because instead of, I don't want to be going across town, right? I don't want to be starting and doing a home in the morning and then having to drive an hour and a half to do the next home. I would laser target my search for homes between 500,000 and $1 million within a specific neighborhood, within maybe a specific 2-mile neighborhood. And that's who I would be spending my time sending direct mail pieces to, or even picking up the phone and calling that individual. Again, you're going to call that individual because you're going to use a tool like, say, a True People search and do a reverse address check.
Yep. So I think the biggest thing that I'm taking away from a lot of things that you're saying is you really got to identify who it is that you want to specifically reach out to. And then you've got a specific message that works well for them, specifically around just neighbors. Neighbors know one another.
Right.
There's a concept of the 5 around, which is when you do a job, the house across the street, to the left, to the right, catty corner to the left, catty corner to the right. And those are really the people that homeowners tend to interact with because they literally share a fence. They're literally across the street. So think about those ones. Think about your customers that are your best customers. Try to figure out who their neighbors are. I wouldn't say everyone has the best relationship with their neighbors necessarily, but those are always worth a shot. And I feel like from the things that you're telling me is, rather than doing something where you're sending something out to thousands of people and hoping to get 1 or 2, like a 0.1% conversion rate. You're saying, hey, set yourself up for success so the actions that you're taking at least have some relevance so that you can get that higher conversion. So
That's exactly
sounds
right.
That sounds good. And so some of the tools you mentioned is like a people search, looking up people's phone numbers based upon their address, using a tool like Zillow to identify neighborhoods and zips that you like to work with within a given home range. You can set all those parameters up. Are there any other data providers or other services that can help with this kind of laser targeting of these ideal personas that you like to recommend?
Sure. Again, it's going to depend on what that persona is. So, there's LinkedIn, obviously. So if your persona is, hey, I really like working with owners of small businesses. Maybe you do some residential, maybe you do some commercial. I'm just making that up. Or I like working with dentists. I don't know. So you can use LinkedIn and tools like that. Facebook a little bit, although Facebook is fairly hard to search. And then just some general Google searching. And even getting back to, getting back to the 5-round that you talk about. I mean, I love that idea. And I've had experiences where somebody's in the neighborhood, tree trimming is an example, or window cleaning. They might, while they're there, they come and knock on my door. Now, in today's world, that's a little bit spooky, right? However, it would be so easy to find my phone number in my, so let's say you're working with my neighbor. You're coming there next Tuesday. You should be calling me today and saying, hey, I'm Joe Johnson from Joe's Window Cleaning Service. We're going to be in your neighborhood next Tuesday. And because we're already going to be there, we're going to be working with your neighbor, Susie Jones. And because we're already going to be there, we can offer you a 15% discount. Would you be interested in that? Well, that's a lot less threatening than someone just surprising me at my door. And today, with so many people having the Ring doorbells and video cameras and things like that, they're going to avoid you when you come to the door because they don't know who you are. But if you called beforehand or even emailed beforehand and said, hey, we're going to be in the neighborhood, would you like us to stop by and give you a quote or something like that? You're going to get a much more likely audience.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of this goes back to the original thing, which is if you can get more information on them before you're even there, then the conversation is going to seem a lot more natural and a lot less threatening, like you said. Absolutely. And so obviously there's a lot of data available on the internet, and if you even have like an intern or an office person, I have a lot of pros that tell me, well, sometimes they're just not busy. Like, this is the perfect activity to be doing. Just go out there, look, build a process, try it a couple times yourself before you go delegate it to someone else, and they can start generating leads rather than just waiting for things to fall into your lap, right? Via inbound, via referral, those things. So really take control of your own destiny on some of these tools and consider, in those 5 rounds, go figure out who are those neighbors. Go look, use Google Maps, go zoom in on the satellite, go get those addresses, put them on a list. My advice would be look at your jobs that you've come up for that week. It was a great idea, Sam. Look at all those jobs and then just find all the surrounding people, go find all the information, and maybe you'll only find 30% of the information. Who cares? It doesn't matter. All those are going to be hyper relevant to you reaching out and quite receptive. And they'll be a lot warmer than just randomly cold calling. Like you mentioned, you're taking the cold out of cold calling. So right. I feel like those are some really good tactical tips there.
Yeah, and other things you can do too, even with Zillow and other real estate search engines, you can also determine when the home was sold. So you could go in and say, well, find me all homes between 500,000 and $1 million in this specific neighborhood, in this zip code, or this city, however you want to do your targeting. However, I want them to only be homes that were sold in the past year. Why? Because we all know that if somebody just bought a home, well, they went through the winter in Minnesota here, and now it's springtime, and those windows need cleaning, and they're sick and tired of it. Or, you go back 2 years and say, okay, they bought the home 2 years ago. Yep, it's going to need new painting. You go back, when was the home built? You can even do a search on when was it built, when was it sold. So let's say it's an older home, but it was sold last year. Well, that home probably is going to need new windows, or they're probably going to need new tree trimming, or whatever a new air conditioner, or a new HVAC system, whatever it might be. You can even get down to that level. The other thing I recommend people do, now you're not going to want to do this on all your clients and your customers. You got to be careful with what you do, but especially some of your higher net worth customers, just even run a Google search on that person. See if they've shown up in the news. Even look at their LinkedIn profile. And then if appropriate, you can use that information. So for example, if a longtime customer or even a new customer has recently won an award. Now, listen to the language that I use carefully, because you don't want to be seen as like some kind of a spy. But you might say something like, hey, Mr. Johnson, before I come over to someone's house or meet with them, I like to do a little homework. I'd like to learn a little bit about you. And I happen to look at your LinkedIn profile. Wow, that's so cool. I see you're CEO of Widget Corporation. I've been working with your VP, Sally Jones over there. She VP of marketing. I've been working with her for 20 years. So again, you have to use that carefully. If you're going to spy on people, you got to let them know you spied on them. But I use some very simple language. Again, it's hey, before I meet with people, or before I like to do a little research. Guess what I found? You tell them what you found. Now, sometimes even if you find information, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to use it, but you can use that information to ask better questions. So if there's something that is interesting, you do a little research on somebody and you find out that they are a big time golfer. Well, if maybe you like to golf, during your conversation, normally if you were to talk to me, and you did, Roland, you started out our conversation today asking me a little bit about myself. Well,
Sure.
I like to golf a little bit, but I'm not very good. But if you were a potential customer of mine and I found out that you were a big time golfer, well, I might even mention that. Like when you say, well, Sam, tell me a little bit about yourself. I might say, well, I like to golf a little bit. Really? Where do you like to golf? And so building that relationship, because again, relationships are so important in all businesses, but especially today.
Yeah. And those things are subtle things that you can just throw into the mix, and like you said, I feel like the golden nugget, what you said is just because you know something doesn't mean you have to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you find the appropriate time to drop it, just seems much more natural, and it helps build that, that sense of trust, the sense of, mutual, you like mutual hobbies, whatever it might be, to start building that bond. And that's a great idea. And I would say it's even a better idea too for your current customers. Inside of Housecall Pro, you can have different notes fields and things like that. Like put those notes in there. Like if they figure out who their dog is, if you figure out their birthday,
Right.
if you figure out like their favorite sports team, those are all great things to casually drop on there. I feel like in the technology space, there's been a lot of tools there where, if I know that your interests are Microsoft and I don't know, some other, maybe some stocks, some et cetera. There's tools out there in the tech world that we use that will auto notify of a cool event, and then I can just send that article to you and go, Sam, I know you like this. Have you seen this about it? And really, just building that relationship based upon your customer's interest, not just yours, in a really hyper relevant way. So I feel like
That's right. Yep.
That's definitely a good tip. One thing that kind of stood out to me is like you really mentioned like how do you ethically spy on people? So the one tip that you shared, which is like let them know you looked, which is just a really simple thing. Hey, Sam, before the meeting, I like to know who I'm dealing with. I definitely want to learn more. I'm a curious individual. I love to just search and just learn a little bit more, even before the meeting, and blah, 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 blah. And that way, you're being upfront. Are there other ways to be more ethical, or how do you talk about some of the information that you found out about it?
Yeah, again, I think it's that language that I use. It's, hey, before I meet with people, I do a little bit of homework, and then let them know what you found, and then let them know where you found it. Now, and again, we're not, sometimes you will find information that's not appropriate to say, right? Just because you find it doesn't necessarily mean you have to use it. Hey, Joe, before I meet with people, I like to do a bit of homework. Guess what I found? Geez, third divorce. You think you'll get it right this time? You're not going to go there, right?
Probably not.
So it's that language that you use, and you'll be able to tell if it's appropriate or not appropriate. And usually you remember that Dale Carnegie said that the sweetest sound in the English language is what? Sound of somebody's name, which means people love to talk about themselves. And so what you're looking for is that award or something interesting. I'll give you an example. I mentioned earlier I played football. I played college football at the University of Minnesota. If you were a fan at that time and you enjoyed watching the bench, you might have recognized me. But, I played enough that it was fun and I, it's a part of my life. Now, if somebody came into my home and said something along the lines of, hey, Sam, let's say it's an HVAC person. Why would I expect an HVAC person to do any homework on me? But if they said something along the lines of, hey, Sam, hey, before I meet with people, I did a little bit of homework and, I kind of recognized your name, but weren't you the Sam Richter who played football for the University of Minnesota? I'm telling you, there would be a second pause. My wife's jaw would drop, my jaw would drop, and I would turn to you and say, I know that you came here to sell me an air conditioner, but, I could really use a new furnace. Would you like to redo my roof? Hey, give me your card because I'm going to send it to every single one of my friends. Matter of fact, I'm going to go across to my neighbor's house. I'm going to break their air conditioner just so you can fix it. Being a little facetious here, but my point being is if you show genuine interest in another person about something they're passionate about and they care about, and you make that other person feel good, that is what differentiates you between you and your competitor. Because the reality in the home pro or the house call world, if you will, no offense, why you're different. Why your company's better. Why your company is special. For me, it's a commodity, right? Hey, just get me an air conditioner. Just get me some window cleaning. I don't care. All right, as long as it's a fair price, I don't care. But I can tell you something. the very few vendors that I have, the very few people who I work with who do take a genuine interest in me, my family, and they can do that up front and they build a relationship, I am so loyal. Again, assuming they do a good job, but let's assume that all of the people watching today are going to do a good job. Then it's taking your game to the next level, building that relationship, generating that loyalty, because that's where those referrals / introductions then occur. And that's where you get that repeat business as well.
Yeah, and I think the little golden nugget I'll take out of that is, you know what makes your business special, but other people don't necessarily.
That's
and
right.
no matter how much branding and those things that you might be doing, it's still everything. People like to buy from people that they like.
That's right.
If I mention Sam's name over and over through this interview and go, wow, Roland really knows my name really well, right? There's small things like that, and obviously. Dale wrote such a great book, and I highly recommend everybody read that. But I feel like there's these cues that really help build these genuine relationships, and people will come back to people that they like, assuming all things went well. Because at the end of the day, the homeowner might not be able to tell the quality of your handiwork. You'll know that you're doing a great job and you're not cutting any corners, but they might not ever go up to the attic and ever even see it. They're trusting you, and that is built on that relationship piece, and that's what kind of continues that business and those referrals, those introductions, all the other parts that kind of make that flywheel spin a little bit. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about like the home and people search engine. You've got something we kind of mentioned to about a little bit before when we're talking, but before the interview here. What is it that you built? And I would love to have our pros go check it out if they are interested.
Yeah, you bet. So, one of the things in sales intelligence is you have to know where all the different sources are. And as I mentioned, there's this source for this. Then you got to go Facebook. Then you got to go back to LinkedIn. Then you got to go here. Then you got to go to there. So what I've developed is I call it the home and people search intel engine. It's really not an engine per se. Think of it as an overlay. So it's a search engine that sits on top of search engines. So instead of you having to know where to go, and also, the key to doing really good searching on, say, Google, most people don't know this, but it's a Boolean mathematical equation. And to really do a good search, you got to put in a 5 to 50 word mathematical equation. So the engine automatically does that. So you can just go in, type in a state or a city, choose some other parameters, and the engine does the searching for you. It finds that information for you, and it does it in seconds. No, so could you do it on your own? Sure, but it might take you 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and that's even if you knew where to go and how to search. Versus with the Intel engine, you just type in 1 or 2 words, click the right button, the engine does it for you.
Yep. And I think also, so within this, I know you're going to give the pros a 30-day free trial if they just want to go check it out. And you can do all the things. You can see it. And if it's valuable to you, great. You can consider like staying along for the ride. But go ahead and go do that because this is just super powerful. There's reference guides in there. There's PDFs that really break it down. Plus, there's the actual searching kind of engine that's in there. So you can go around inside of there, play with it, see what you can find out because it just aggregates across all the different things, some of the things that Sam mentioned so far. In this interview. So if you guys want to go there, the URL there is sam1234/housecall. So if you go there, sam1234.com/housecall, you'll be able to go take a look. But a lot of things that we talked about here on the sales intelligence, you'll find us here. And the reputation that we're going to jump into here in just a couple of minutes, all that's in there as well. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and go check that out. That's super nice and generous to go, take a look at it and take it for a spin.
Yeah, and make sure you go to that specific web address because if you go to my website or if you Google me, you'll find it, but you won't get the discount. You won't get the free trial. So if you go into sam1234.com/housecall, sam1234.com/housecall, then you get the free 30-day trial as well.
Yeah. And you just jump right in and go play around with it. Yep. You got all the reference guides that are PDFs. You can download them for later reading, put on your Kindle, whatever you guys want to do. So that's super helpful. So let's jump into kind of like the next section here that we really wanted to cover, because I know this is something you're definitely very passionate about, mm-hmm. which is just on the customer relations side and reputation management side. Our pros, they live and breathe reviews. And so a lot of times after the work is done, how do you get the homeowners, how do you start the conversation to start generating some of those reviews in a way that still comes across as authentic and not needy?
Yeah. Well, I think first off is ask and just be honest. Most people are smart. They know why you want to review. So I might, instead of just hoping or praying, or it would be something like, hey, were you happy with my work? Most of my business comes through the internet, and obviously reviews are really, really important. Do you think you could do me the favor of writing a review? Just ask. I think most people, when they're asked, are willing to say yes. But what the crazy thing is, I think a lot of business owners are afraid. Well, we're afraid of rejection. That's why a lot of business owners aren't so good at sales. They're afraid of rejection. And asking for a review is kind of like a sales call. So I think it's just being, blunt. Hey, if you enjoyed my service, a big favor you could do for me and help me is to write a nice review. Now make it easy for the person. So maybe you're on Yelp, or maybe it's a Google review, whatever you want. Hey, if you'd like, I'll send you an email with a link. You just click on the link and type in what you want, because don't ask the person to find you. Don't ask the person to, I'd be happy to write a review. Great. Go into Google me, make sure you have your Facebook account open. No, make it easy. Send them, have a pre-written email that you can copy and paste, or a template if you use an email system that allows templates, that allows you to send that customer an email with the instructions on exactly what to do and exactly where to click. Make it super, super easy. And in fact, what you might want to do in that email is, hey, below is a couple of sample reviews that others have done for me. Obviously use your own words, but you might want to see the language that other people use, because sometimes the customer, well, I just don't know what to say. Make it easy for them.
Yep.
I take that from some of my friends who are authors. They'll send me a book and I'll read the book, and then they'll ask me to go on Amazon and write a review. And those that don't guide me, it's kind of, I don't know what to say. What should I say? What's a good review? Versus they'll send me an email. Hey, here's 3 sample reviews. That makes it so much easier. I'm not going to copy and paste, but what I will do is I'll read it, and then I'll say, again, as a customer, yes, now I know exactly what to say. And I'll put my own spin on it, my own language on it.
Yeah. So I feel like that is a really good golden nugget for you guys. So this is, make it easy for them, but more than just sending the link. So with Housecall Pro, it'll automatically send the link if you got it configured, and it'll do all those things. But send a sample review or send some examples. I feel like people these days, it's hard to come up with things that are original. I just did some camping, so I wrote some reviews on Outdoorsy, on Hip Camp, and those things. You really have to carefully think about how you write the reviews. Those things, they take time. I think it took me, a good 20, 30 minutes coming up with them. And so if you can help people make that even easier by, hey, here's kind of 3 sample reviews. If you want to change some things or add it, most people will take some of the components of it, and then expound on there, add some extra things. And really make it their own review, because they don't just want to plagiarize and just use that thing. But that is a great gold nugget. So if you can send them some examples, that is a really, really good idea. Super powerful. Definitely a golden nugget there for you guys. My only advice is, if you do that, make sure you change those examples to the reviews, maybe every month or every other month. What you don't want to have happen is people will kind of use the same template, and then you'll get a whole bunch of the same types of things. So keep that thing kind of rotating so you can kind of keep them fresh. But that's just going to help reduce the friction in not only asking someone for the review, but then getting them to actually write it, because that's the hardest part, because it takes some time. And you want to make sure that they feel like it's valuable to go do that for you. So hopefully you've delivered a good service and you've earned it.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit more about how to respond to reviews, because I feel like not just getting reviews, that's like the first part of what you need to do, but the second piece is really responding to them. I've always been a big advocate of just respond to every review, good or bad. Thank someone for taking the time to write your review, and then reply to the negative ones. Those negative ones can be kind of tricky, because that's what people will generally look at when they're kind of scrolling around. Oh, let me look what went bad. Let me see what's going on. What kind of advice do you have for our pros in responding to those?
Yeah, first off, the first thing is, don't worry about it. If you don't have a negative review, I'll actually be a little bit suspicious as a customer. How could this person not have at least a 4-star? Because if it's all 5, if you got 100 5-star reviews, I'm like, well, geez, I wonder how much money they paid that person to write the review. I don't trust it. Occasionally, you're going to get a negative review. Now, what I look for personally when I'm hiring somebody who's going to be in my home it's not so much the positive reviews. That's a given. Of course, they're going to have positive reviews. I want to see how they respond to the negative reviews. Number one thing that it's like they go away, delete, I never want to talk to you, is if they blame the customer. Well, and we see this all the time. Well, if the customer had just told me, they have unrealistic expectations. Whatever, I don't care how true it is. Don't blame the customer. So I use a very simple process, and it works every time. And I've tested this process from, if the president would have just said this, if this athlete would have just done it this way, they would have saved themselves so much pain. And it works down to the window cleaner as well. And it's a very simple process. It's first, apologize. I am so sorry you had a negative experience, or whatever it might be. Then you state the facts. The facts are, and then you state the facts. The facts are, you told us you had 7 windows that needed cleaning, and we came out and there were 38 windows that needed cleaning, and that's why your price was a little bit higher than the original quote. State the facts. But then here's the one that I think most people miss, and that's the second apology. That's, to me, the important one. The second apology is, I don't care about the facts. I don't care. It's not your fault as the customer that you told us 7 and we came out and found 38. It's my fault because I didn't do a good enough job on the front end asking good questions. Well, you're sure you only have 7? 7 seems a little bit small for a house of your size. I'm just making this up. Then the next 2 pieces are key. What are you going to do about it? Now, you have to decide. You have to decide if you're going to go back and do all 38 windows for the price of 7. Probably not. You can't be doing that all the time. But you've got to come up with some kind of a solution that is amenable to the customer. And then the last part is, what are you going to do about it as the business owner? What you have to take personal responsibility for making sure that the correction happens. And again, you may choose not to write a correction or make a correction. That's fine. What are you going to do about it? Could be, please give me a call, as I'd like to make this right for you. That could be how you respond in the Yelp review. But then you put your phone number in there. Don't put it to the call center in the Philippines that you outsource it to. And my point is, you need to make sure that it gets taken care of. So again, apologize, state the facts. The big important one, apologize again. I don't care about what the facts are. You're not happy as a customer. I need to fix it. What are you going to do about it? Whatever you choose to do, and then make sure that you take the personal responsibility for making it happen.
Yeah. So I think probably just breaking that back down and summarizing what you just said. So first steps first. One is apologize and acknowledge, apologize and acknowledge, their feelings. That's the first step. You have to disarm that right out of the gate. The second piece is, really state the facts. So that way other people that are kind of reading it are able to see, okay, no, this is kind of what happened. Okay. And then you said kind of come up with a solution and tie that into what are you as a business going to do about it? But if you follow that sequence, if you follow that framework, apply that to the review. So that way the next person that reads it, they go, wow, okay, they're responsive. They're either trying to make it right, or they're trying to just get them to call them to see what they could do, etc. But I feel like that's a really good kind of sequence when you're thinking about how you reply to reviews.
Yeah, and it's that second apology too that's really important. So it's apologize, state the facts. But then that apology is often, I don't care about the second apology is really, I don't care about the facts. Now you might not say that, but that's what you're implying. I don't care about the facts. The facts are you aren't happy for whatever reason, maybe, and I didn't do a good job in my estimating. I didn't do whatever it might be. I didn't do a good enough job in communicating. That's not your fault. That's my fault. I didn't do a good, whatever that apology for the facts are, you need to have that second apology. Otherwise, you look like you're making an excuse. So to me, that second apology is so important.
Yep. So apologize and acknowledge, facts, apology, solution, and what are you going to do about it as a business?
Yep.
Kind of going forward. So that is a great framework for pros to think about. So we're going to play a game with Sam. I don't know if you remember us from our pre-talk yet that we're going to play this game.
Yeah.
But this game is, what would Sam write?
Okay.
What would Sam write?
Sure.
And so I'm going to read off just some reviews here from some pros. And I would love to know how you would tackle this. So
Okay, we'll give it
we're
a
going to do this
shot.
in real time, just so you guys all know. Sam has no clue what I'm about to ask him because literally I pulled him up right before this meeting. So there's no way you could prepare for these. So we're going to get this raw and uncut. All right. So this is a review one of our pros got. It says, if you must know, a scary driver cut me off with children in the car in Livermore by my kids' swim lessons. Shouldn't matter anyways, since you can just buy more of your fake Google reviews. This is 1 star on their page. How would you reply to that?
Wow, that's a toughie. So what I'm assuming is this woman was driving and there was a Johnson window cleaning truck that cut this driver off, and so they went on the page. And so I think on this one, I'm not even sure I need the second apology. It would be, this is, I first off apologize. I deeply apologize that you had that experience. I obviously, unfortunately, I, as the owner, was not there. I was not the driver. So therefore, I don't particularly know the facts. And then maybe here's where the second apology comes in. But that's irrelevant. If you had this negative experience, that's not acceptable. I'm going to, based on the date of the review and based on my driver, who my drivers are, I'm going to figure out who this was. And I will take, the proper action from, ranging from further training to termination, if that is the appropriate, the appropriate cause of action. Feel free to reach out to me directly and share with me more of your experience, or if you have any other thoughts, and then put your personal phone number in there.
That's a great one. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of our pros sometimes get these types of almost irrelevant, right? These are people they didn't even do business with, and they're the most scary ones to get. I often hear ones too where it's like, hey, I called them for a quote and man, that was really expensive. And you didn't even do the service for them. It chose not even to pick you. And they go, oh, this guy's really expensive, which is another one of these types of,
I've seen those before.
Yeah, and these kind of reviews where it's like, well, we didn't even do business together. But, everyone has the right to review their experience with you. So these types of things, you're going to have to deal with. And it's really good to have a response here. So one thing our pros like to do, oftentimes they do giveaways and stuff like that on Facebook, and people sign up for the giveaways. But obviously they have to give their information to, get the giveaway prize here. So how do you reply to someone that leaves a review that says, I signed up for a Facebook giveaway, not sales calls? That's it for the review. How would you reply to that?
Apologize again. I'm so sorry you had a negative experience. State the facts. The reason we do Facebook giveaways is to gather names of potential customers. And of course, as a business, we're in business to make money, and we're going to follow up with those customers. Second apology. However, obviously, we didn't make clear enough that you can opt out of any sales calls, whether that's an in-person call or a phone call or an email. We need to do a better job of making sure that you, our prospect, understands that on the front end. What are you going to do about it? Moving forward, we'll make sure that our unsubscribe in our email is a little bit larger. When we place a phone call, we're going to be clear that why we're calling in the first 30 seconds and let you know, that, if you're interested in talking further, you can. And then I, as the owner of the company, are going to make sure that this is implemented immediately. Now, again, what I just described might be a little bit too long of a response, but I think you kind of get the, hey, I'm not making excuses. Hey, state the facts. I apologize first, state the facts. Yeah, of course we're going to do a giveaway and follow up. We're a business. We're in this to make money. But then apologize again. We obviously didn't do a good enough job of making it easy for you to opt out of the sales calls.
Yeah. And I think that the pattern, as I'm going through all of these, they all sound very similar, but they all sound very professional. And the one thing that always sticks out to me is, we had Jocko Willink on the show in season 1, and his book is all about extreme ownership. And this feels very similar to that, where, even if the customer is blatantly wrong, you're still taking ownership on it. I could have done a better job when I was doing the giveaway to make it more clear that we'd be giving you a call and trying to sell you something,
That's right.
Saying things like that is very transparent. and take that ownership. And then people are like, they'll be like, yeah, that person's ridiculous. Like, I know when I sign up for a giveaway that I'm giving my information and I'm going to get called from it, you know, and that way you disarm those potential future customers that are looking at you, right? They're spying on you. They're doing their research on you before they decide to even have you come to the home. So they've got the information that they need. So that's a really good framework that clearly works. And I feel like can deal with a lot of different types of reviews that are coming in, because I've thrown you a couple curveballs on this.
Yeah, and I think what I just got from what you just said, which I hadn't thought about this before, but what we're really looking to do in answering those negative reviews is subconsciously plant in your future prospect's mind that this customer who left the negative review is crazy, right? You know, because what you want to do is you want to come back as the business owner answering the review as the logical, calm, reasonable person, and let the, you know, without making fun, without making the customer who left the negative review feel bad. You know, they have their right to their opinion. They have their right to their feelings, and we need to recognize that. But subconsciously, I want my future prospect to read that and go, yeah, that customer was nuts. You know, of course the guy's going to do a Facebook review and follow up with a sales call. He's not just going to be giving away a free microwave and just because he's a nice guy. So that's the subconscious message we want to leave with our prospects. So I think if we think about that as well, when we're leaving those responses to a negative review, it's not just making that customer who left the negative review feel better. Obviously, that's what we want to do. But it's also, what message are we giving that future prospect who is reading our response to that negative review? And the message I know I want to be sending is, I'm professional, I take care of business, I care about my customers, and I'm reasonable.
Yep. And I feel like specifically in the home services space, people more than anything want to know that someone that they're potentially going to do business will be accountable and take ownership of the entire process, whether the outcome's good or bad. Because the reason why home services exists, because I don't know how to plumb, I don't know how to do electrical work. You know, you can do some work and close it up behind the wall, and I would never know. But I do want to know that if something goes wrong, that you take accountability for it, you take ownership and you fix it. And so I feel like that alleviates a lot of the fear, especially when it comes to home services, when people don't have their own specialty. There's a reason why they're hiring you, because they can't do it themselves. So if you guys can do your best to show that you're happy to take accountability, you're happy to take ownership, then that is great. And the way that you presented it in these kind of review reputation framework, this is clearly the way to start building that authority so that your business can close more business down the road. So Sam, are there any other tips that you think are relevant when it comes to reviews that you want to share with the audience that we haven't covered?
Well, I think I'm going to go kind of above and beyond a review because that's an obvious one. But I think what might be less obvious is all of the information that's out there on you. And in today's world in particular, I'm not just going to be Googling your company name. I'm going to be Googling your name, the owner of the business's name. And especially if it's a larger job in HVAC, landscaping, where somebody's going to be in my home a lot for a long time. I mean, we just had a landscaping project done. It started in May and it ended in July. There were people at my house all the time. And I wasn't always home, but my family was. I'm going to Google not only the company name, but I'm going to Google your name as well. And even on the company name, we need to recognize that the way Google and search engines work today is even when I Google the company name, when I search on the company name, your employees, assuming that their LinkedIn profile, their Facebook profile identifies themselves as an employee of your company, it's highly likely they're going to show up on that first page of Google results. And how are they representing themselves? Are they representing themselves professionally? Are you representing yourselves professionally? In today's world, are we talking politics? Not that there's anything wrong with that. Listen, talk about what you want, but just know that everything is searchable, theoretically. And depending where you live, 49% or 51% of the people in that community are going to disagree with you. Again, you might say, I don't care. I'm going to post whatever I want online. And if people choose to do business with me, that's their choice. But I just want you to do it thoughtfully. So don't lose business because of something you've put online. We've all sent out a quote, and we thought it was going to be a done deal. We had a great meeting. Everything went well. And then on our follow-up call, we've heard this phrase: we've decided to go a different direction. Have you ever heard that phrase before? We've decided to go a different direction. Well, that might very well be true. They just decided to go in a different direction. I can give you example after example after example where somebody has said to me, yeah, I was going to do business with this person. Kind of went on their Facebook profile and they were kind of a nut job. Now, are they going to tell you, I went on your Facebook page and you're kind of a nut job? No, what they're going to say is, we decided to go in a different direction. So you got to be just kind of knowledgeable that it's not just your response to reviews. Obviously, that's number one. That's super important. But it's your entire, and I call it personal branding or your digital reputation online. It's all of that. It's your response to reviews. It's your text messages. It's how do you send an email? Is it grammatically correct? All of those little things make a big difference. And people are going to make judgments about you. That's the crazy world in which we live today with everybody having a digital profile. People are going to make judgments about you and potentially even choose to do business or not do business with you before they even meet you.
Yep. And these are things that are going to be hard to figure out. And so you might be wondering why. So make sure, obviously, if you're using Facebook for personal reasons, keep it personal, keep it locked down so people can't search those things. If you're posting lots of politics, obviously, half of the people that are probably going to see what you're posting are not going to agree with whatever side you pick. So these are all things that you have to consider. And if you have a public brand that's out there in your community, just what you do in terms of actions is one thing, but when you're doing anything online, there is a trace. So be very careful what you say, who do you say it to, what those privacy settings are set to. Just be cognizant of that, because those are all things that may come back to haunt you and you might not even know it. So that was a super helpful tip there for our pros. Sam, one thing I like to ask, knowing what you know now about the types of customers we serve and the questions I like to ask, who is someone in your network that you think would be able to deliver a lot of value to our pros and would like to be on the show here and interview with me? Oh, gosh, I think there's a number. Mark Hunter, the sales hunter, is just great at the language of prospecting and the mindset. His recent book is brilliant. It's called A Mind for Sales. And it's the mindset that we have to have, especially in today's crazy world. Meredith Elliott Powell is brilliant when it comes to leadership, sales as well. Mary Kelly is brilliant on the economics, really, and the economics of running a business. Yeah, thanks so much, Sam, for those recommendations. We had Mary on the show, we had Meredith on the show, and I'd love to have Mark Hunter too. He sounds like someone that can definitely give some valuable tips. So I'll reach out just on the side to get that introduction. But for all of our viewers here, I wanted to say thanks for all the information, the helpful tips, the golden nuggets, the frameworks. Obviously, a lot of these things can also be found on the site that we shared earlier, probably like halfway through this segment here. Where can they find that again? Yeah, it's www.sam1234, the numbers 1234.com/housecall. And you'll be able to go in and get a 30-day trial. You can put in your credit card stuff, but if you don't want the access to it, then obviously just go in and cancel once you've gone in and played with it and downloaded everything. But I've got a sales intelligence reference guide, which is basically it's a 30-page step-by-step manual on how to use Google and other search engines in ways you never thought possible. Then I have the Digital Reputations e-guide, which covers a lot of what we talked about today and a lot that we didn't talk about today. And then you'll go in and you'll have some fun with the home and people intel engine and use that. And hopefully you'll start using it to find some really cool leads and ways to reach out and connect with people. Very cool. Yeah, guys, this is a powerful tool. Just go check it out. If nothing else, there's some super helpful information just in those PDFs there. So make sure you go there and just go download them. So that way you can have your free reference. But remember, you guys got to go log in there to be able to get access to that. So that would be super helpful for you guys. Is there anything else that you would like to be able to reference? Or do you have like another site if pros want to learn more about you or some of the things like books that you've made? Yeah, you can just go to my website, which is www.samrichter,
ter.com. And probably everything you need to know about me is there. Otherwise, just going, as I always say, if you can't find me in Google, don't listen to anything I have to say because I'm not very good. So you can go into Google and just type in my name, and there's lots of information, lots of ways to reach out to me. And by the way, feel free to reach out. My contact information is really easy to find. Feel free to reach out. Just let me know that you are a fan of the show, and I'll help you out in any way that I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all the help. Pros, definitely take advantage of this. Sam, thanks for being on the show. And pros, we will see you again next week. Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Look forward to seeing you next week. For more information, go to housecallpro.com/pro talks.